So if you guys were writing the bill and you guys had a magic wand and this could not be taken out, any extra provisions you would like to see in this bill? So for me personally, it's stock buybacks. I'm not saying you can't do them because I hate them, but I understand them. But like, okay, cap it. You can't do, if you're getting the benefit, you can't do it above X percent amount or Y dollar amount. So any other provisions like that you guys would want to see added to this bill? Andrew, you first.
Oh man. Well, the one thing that's been kicked around is not taxing Social Security. I'm in favor of that. That may add a pretty wide spread to the deficit, and it may have some other, complicated factors behind it. But again, my clients that are retired and folks I work with, I mean, even my parents, like, I think again, you earn Social Security, the complication of all the sludge of I can't earn this money if I have Social Security, or 5% of my benefit is taxed, or like people hate that. And I think again simplicity would win the day there. Just you get Social Security, it's not taxed, boom, done, move on. I would be fine with that. Tips, overtime, whatever, I'm fine with that too. And like Brad mentioned, I'm pro entrepreneur, pro investment in America, investment in individuals. So like the qualified business income deduction, I love it. Keep it. Personally, don't benefit just because of the field I'm in. So, and Brad is too, unfortunately. So, we weren't the right lobbyists. We're not home builders. We're not architects. We're not engineers who are excluded, or folks in tech even. But so I'm fine. I'm personally fine with that. But the other piece that I would like to see too, that I think is a very big advantage that many people don't talk about, is the higher standard deduction for simplicity. I think again, Brad, you can attest to this, man. People, if they knew, oh, okay, after my taxes, if my adjusted gross income is 200,000, I get to deduct 30,000 as a standard deduction. Boom. They're not calculating mortgage interest, they're not calculating how much they give every year, et cetera. But the downside to that, and this is again just kind of a personal belief, is over the last several years, because the standard deduction has gone up, you've actually seen charitable giving go down. So there is still a very motivating component to being able to deduct charitable contributions. And when people give 4 or 5 thousand, 6,000 bucks a year, and their CPA says, well, no, none of that counts because we're taking a standard deduction, they're like, well, fine, I'm not giving to the Boys and Girls Club anymore. So I again, personally would love to see some sort of balance there, because I mean, that's just a personal thing. Like, I'm all for charitable giving. I give, I tithe, I do these things. I have a lot of clients who do as well. And again, it's not so much do it for the tax benefit. However, if it makes the world a better place, again, trickle down, more money going to organizations that are doing really good work, I'm all for it. So, long-winded answer, but yeah, if I was president, there'd definitely be some things that slice and dice. And Will, I'm kind of like you with the stock buybacks, et cetera. I'd definitely put some guardrails and provisions around what corporations can and can't do. Again, to just make it more favorable for you and I, and the people who make up the country.
Charitable giving, I do agree with you there, but in defense of that provision being there, it's so like the super wealthy can't just use it as a slush fund, which has been used before. Again, both sides of the aisle have used that before. But for smaller, regular people, small businesses, yes, absolutely. If you're going to donate to like even your local church, food bank, homeless shelter, what have you, yes, that should easily be tax deductible. You should be rewarded for doing the right thing. But it's kind of hard to have a provision there that only impacts one specific type of people, as opposed to like, okay, why can't Bill Gates do that? It's, well, he has the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Should he get tax write-offs for that? It's like, well, yeah, I guess, but isn't that just a slush fund? So that's my pushback there. But Brad, you're Mr. President. What provisions do you want included? You can either expand upon ours or throw them in the trash.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, there's definitely some things I would do different, and I, need a lot more time to think about this to get a great answer. But off the top of my head, stuff that I would say here, I mean, I'm all for Andrew. I'm his running mate on, let's just exempt Social Security from taxes, right? Like, that's fine with me. Let's exempt it. And higher standard deduction, 100%. Let's take that to 50,000, right? I mean, if we're talking about like you know, folks who are making low income. First of all, most people don't understand that they're actually not paying any taxes. Half of Americans don't pay income tax, and they don't know that. A large portion of that half actually gets money refunded back to them through the earned income tax credit or the refundable portion of the child tax credit. So they have a effective negative tax rate. So one, helping people understand that, I think, would take that kind of chip off their shoulder and kind of calm everyone down. But higher standard deduction, don't tax Social Security. I think that, you know, just kind of a pet peeve of mine, this backdoor Roth is just garbage. So, you know, it's like you can do a backdoor Roth, so screw it. Just take the income limit off and just let people put money into a Roth. It's only $7,000 a year, $8,000 a year anyway. Let people put money into a Roth. Simplify the taxes. Every time you pass something, every single president's like, I'm going to simplify taxes. And so, you know, it's like, hey, we're going to make the tax 1040 a postcard. Well, okay, when they shortened the 1040, what did they do? They took all the numbers from what they shortened and they put it on 5 new schedules that gives you 7 or 8 new pages in your tax return. So thank you for simplifying the tax return. You made it more complicated. And they do that with the tax code too. So every time you add something new, let's have to take something out, right? Let's take something out so that, you know, it's not so complicated. Now, this one too, I think, 2 more. I'll give you 2 more. Charitable giving, absolutely. Like they gave us this above the line deduction of charitable giving. You know what it is? It's $300. Okay, that's going to save someone $50 in taxes. Like, why is it not 5,000? Can we make a charitable deduction contribution above the line for $5,000 a year? Most people give less than that. They would benefit a good amount from that, and at least feel better too. The fact, because like you said, Andrew, they're like, oh yeah, here's my charitable giving. I'm like, sorry, it doesn't matter. And you know, so that our teachers, right? Let's make that out of pocket teacher expense deduction more than $300. Let's make. I mean, I don't. They're usually spending somewhere, I can tell, between 8 and 1,200. Let's put it at 2,500 and just cover it, right? Let them deduct everything, or maybe put no limit. Just let them deduct everything that they're coming out of pocket for. Why not? Hey, while we're at giving tax-free income, how about we exempt teacher pay from taxes to some extent, or something like that? I don't know. You know,
Maybe for public
it kind of.
schools.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of drives me. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that. You know, no private school teachers. That's fine. Except what's funny is a lot of times private school pay their teachers less.
Make less. Yeah, they make less. That's true.
But yeah, public school teachers, I'm all for it. You know, let's not tax them because you know the state levels aren't paying them well enough. So let's not tax them. And then this last one, self-employment tax. I mean, pro business, right? I mean, okay, we got this 1202 stock where if you start a C corporation, you end up selling it, you can exempt up to, I don't know, like $10 million from the sale. But how many clients actually do that? I mean, there's plenty of people who do that, but the vast majority of self-employed people are the people making 60 to 300,000 as a self-employed person. You've got to make significantly more when you start your business like that than you did when you were W-2. So it's like, hey, you were making 60 as a W-2. You got to make 150 to cover your business expenses plus your income tax plus now you're getting hammered with the self-employment tax at 15%. Let's somehow ease, and now QBI does this to an extent, but let's somehow ease the fact that you've got to pay in both halves of Social Security and Medicare tax when you're self-employed, because that just nails people. And I'd be honest with you, it's the self-employment tax on top of the income tax that drives most people back to a W-2 job, and they're not ready for that when tax time comes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I had a review with a client of mine yesterday. She filed Social Security to the advice of her CPA, Brad. It was not you. And I told her she shouldn't have because she was still making money self-employed as a realtor. But yeah, last year, you know, the only thing she could do, she got a traditional IRA. So she was like, should I put the $8,000 in? You know, I'm getting creamed. I'm like, well, that's not going to help your self-employment tax. It'll help your federal and state, but you got to pay that 15%. And I mean, I as one, Brad as one, Will, you're self-employed. You know, yeah, the self-employment tax was what really drove me to doing an S corp. I got sick of it, and my wife got sick of it, and you know, it was one of those things where, yeah, I'm like, look, I'm not double paying for my Social Security when my benefit's not going to be any better. Like, no, screw that, and I'm not going to count on Social Security. But Brad, I love the teacher ideas. Of course, my wife, you know, Devin's going to support that. But I'm all for.
That was
Yeah,
what I
no,
just thought
no
of today.
tax on
So that
teacher
was
income.
a brand new thought right now. I'm good for it. Now, of course, we already talked about it earlier. We got to make up for that income somewhere because there's a lot of teachers out there. But again, if they're married and they got a couple kids, they might not be paying taxes already anyway. So
Yeah, very good point. That's true.
Yeah, well, Brad, as a single member LLC holder over here with Willie T Productions, I know who I'm going to next year for my taxes.
There you go. There you go. And like Andrew said, the S corp solves some of this problem. There's a lot of people who are going to get nailed later when the IRS finally starts doing their job right and catching people with unreasonably low compensation.
Not if they fire them, which they've been doing.
Yeah, right. They're gonna fire them first. Yeah. So S corp will help you out. S corp will help you out most of the time, but not always. You got to look at your specific situation, of course. But yeah, that definitely can help in a lot of situations. But still, I mean, Andrew. I mean, you got to do the reasonable comp where you're still on the hook for the full payroll tax, and then you got the income tax on top of that. So yeah, self-employment people just get nailed with taxes.